did I tell you I keep finding new cats? So I have 4 kittens. I just adopted out
Dude.
another 2 kitten, but now I have 2 more. Hopefully another one will get adopted, but I'm like, I at this point, I should just open a cat cafe
Dude,
because it's just really hard to maintain at
dude,
this point.
why are the cats in your neighborhood so horny? Like for reals.
Well, the question is, why do they keep bringing me their kittens?
Cause you keep
All these
taking
mama
them.
Okay, well, I
They
mean,
trust
they're
you.
going to good homes, okay? And they're like, that one, that the druggie.
Look
That's
at
the one
it.
who's gonna get you unlimited catnip and churro and
Dude,
treats. And
they know, man. They're like, dude, this is like free childcare out here. Free, you're
yeah.
working for them for free.
No, not the mom being like irresponsibly dropping off their babies.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Josei Junkies, an anime podcast where we talk about anything and everything. I'm Iso.
And I'm Kane. Welcome back to our podcast.
Woo! So last week we kind of touched on talking about like cosplay and the cosplay community, and I know you cosplay a lot, so do you have any thoughts on like that, or like what's your experience been with cosplay?
Oh my god, let me think. Well, I don't know when you started going to cons and stuff, but I went when I was really young. I think I was like in either freshman or sophomore year of high school. So like, what is that? Was like 15? 15 when
Yeah,
I started?
I feel like it's
Yeah,
2015.
and then going to cons for a few years, just like so excited, a bunch of anime weaves, and then realizing that you can dress up as well. And then that's when we started like making our own costumes to go to cons and stuff. But I remember like now that I think back at it, like I was so young. Like we were all really young, like 15 or 16. And then I remember one of the photog that I shot with and being like, when you were really young, I was just like, hey, you get into this bush so I can take some photos of you. And I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And now I think back, I'm like, that wasn't, a very smart decision.
Random dude tells me to do things in random
Yeah,
areas. Sounds
yeah,
right.
random older dude, much, much older dude, just tell me like I've never met before. Just be like, can you come with me to this secluded area into this bush? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do
Dude,
that.
dude has a DSLR. Sounds legit.
Oh my god. Now I think back, I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I didn't have any like stranger danger, and maybe there was, but I felt like back then it wasn't as dangerous because a lot of the people who knew of cons would only go there because they were really like anime. But
That's true.
nowadays, I feel like it's just anyone, will just go because they find like it's a good place to meet people, meet friends, or pick up girls, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Dude, I've literally heard like people plan out like who they're gonna meet. Like they like creep and they're like, oh, I know this person knows this person and I'm gonna like meet with this person so then maybe I can get to know like this person. And I'm just like,
That's a
damn.
real thing.
Yeah. And like it's happened like with people who are photographers who are trying to like shoot with certain people or get into certain circles. It's like wild and like the clout chasing is so real now. Like you can't even ignore it.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. But it would make sense that that's how they weave their way through the circle.
Yeah, it's kind of like sad that you have to be on so like on guard now, especially as a female. I feel like
Yeah.
with like the dudes, like there's just so much stuff where I'm like, okay, if you're gonna shoot with someone, make sure you go with someone else. Like, don't go alone, especially if you don't know the person. I mean, even if you do know the person, I would still say go with someone else because like I've seen so many instances of people thinking they knew someone or trusted someone, even if they like shot before, and then like afterwards, creepy shit happens. Like I've seen people like put cameras in weird places and just all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah, now that I think about it. And then all of the hotel room shoots too. Where
Yeah,
like, oh, meet me in my hotel room. I have all the lights set up. And then you
dude.
just
Yeah,
go.
there was like I remember I don't know if they're still doing it, but there used to be like 18 plus like shoots, which is like okay if you're like consensual, whatever. But
Wait,
then
aren't they still around?
I don't know because I haven't been to cons in a while. I feel like so I might be out of
I
date with
still
my
see
info.
them. I forgot what it's called. Is it Cosplay Deviants or something like
I thought
that?
it was like after dark. I don't know. But I know that there were like issues because I think they were. I've never been, but I believe from what I've been told is that they're supposed to like they were like carding people to make sure they're of age because you know the type of content they're making you have to be of age. And I think like I don't know if people
Oh.
use a fake ID or like what happened. Or they just let people in, but I've heard of like younger people being let in, and there were like photos. And then you know when you do those kind of photos, sometimes there's like things you may not want photographed, but
Yeah.
you kind of have to trust the photog that they're going to be like responsible about it and like show you and delete things that you want deleted because it's like that kind of like you need that kind of trust for that kind of shoot, I feel like. And that wasn't
Yeah.
happening. And that's an issue, especially if the person isn't of age.
Dude, that's so freaking wrong for them to do that. I wish I could warn all the new youngin' ones who's coming into the scene. Like, yeah, I feel like people are a little bit more wary considering a lot of people have been outed for their weird, creepy behavior. So nowadays it's not as bad because I feel like before someone like shoots with a photog that I've worked with before, they would message me like, "Oh, what was your experience with this photog?"
Man, that's
And
good.
then yeah, but then I've also realized I've been getting like uh, there's a lot of photog who would shoot with me and then use me to be like, "I shot with this person." So you can I'm safe, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Oh, that's like so messed up. Cause like you're not the only person I've heard that happen to either. And then it's like
Yeah.
it's the worst when you especially because like when you take a photog's word to say like, oh yeah, I shot with this person, or you see that they shot with it and you like assume like, oh, they must be safe because that person said they were safe or shot with them. And it's like with especially
Yeah.
without like messaging that person directly. And then like you said, even if they did message you, maybe your experience was good, but they were just using it as like bait to like not be
Yeah.
good to other people. That's just
I
pisses
know,
me
but I feel
off.
like maybe it's a little bit better than like people just going in blind.
Yeah.
Now people are that's like a precaution people are taking now, right? Hey,
Yeah.
like I know you know this person, but what's actually your experience with them?
Yeah.
You know? So I feel like maybe it's a little bit better to have a little precaution than there wasn't before. There was like no filter before, right?
Yeah.
No boundaries set.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, it's a friend of a friend, so at least you know you kind of have that friend's hopeful, good
Yeah.
judgment.
And I guess in a way too, it's kind of good. This is like one of the things where I guess maybe social media is a little bit better because you can get more of a like gauge of where they're actually at and see more interaction and like your feel for how they interact.
Yeah.
It's like all little things and you can never 100% I feel like be sure, but it helps.
That's crazy to think that, this whole thing is happening. But, that just means how crazy how much the con community has changed. Because it's big enough that now we got to put in certain regulation than it was before, just like a dinky small little thing. So it's like improved a lot. And I feel like I know a lot of really great friends who were like photogs first, and I
Yeah.
probably would have never met them had it not been for like cosplay or like our interaction at the con, because it's like, oh, sometimes when you take photos you get to talk a little bit, get to know
Mm,
them more, and then eventually you become friends and you hang out outside of cons.
that's
Like one of
true.
my closest like photog that I worked with a lot, it's like a good friend of mine.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what conventions are really good at. Like meeting people you wouldn't meet other. I mean, that's a big reason like why I started going to conventions. Like I had a hard time finding friends who were into anime or I could just talk it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to an anime convention and just like talk to people and go out of my comfort zone and just like say hi, introduce myself, and like hope to make friends. And kind of
That's
worked
brave
out.
considering you're pretty introverted, right?
Dude, that was like my phase of like I'm introverted, but I need to get out of my comfort zone. And now I'm like back into it. And I don't know how I feel. I think it's because like of how things have changed and how jaded I feel like I've become because like I don't want to say I was naive. Maybe I was back then, but like I always try to like see the best in people, like I want to believe that people are good. So even if there were like red flags, I just kind of be like, okay, well, I'm going to do my best to avoid situations but still try to be as open as I can to like do things, like hang out instead of just saying straight up no. Like I don't know you. Never met you, don't know who you know.
It's so true. I sometimes forget how rare it is for you to come out, because every time I'm like, "Hey, you want to go out?" You're like, "Yeah, let's go."
I'm like, this is
And
like
then you're like, "This is the first time I've ever left my house."
it's it's been a year since I've seen people. What's up, guys?
And then I'm like, let me just throw you in this giant nest party that I'm going to. You just come.
No, but I'm so grateful because like I need that because I have trouble getting out on my own, especially when I'm like, oh, there's no reason for me to leave, and oh, yeah,
Oh my
I'm
god, where
grateful.
that meme, like the introvert extrovert dragging the introvert out of their
Yeah,
house.
it's like every introvert needs an extrovert to adopt them and drag them.
Don't worry, I'll adopt you. 'Cause, like, otherwise, I'll never see you.
I'm one of the adoptees. I'm grateful. This is how I
Oh
meet
my
other
god.
weebs. But that's true too, because okay, you're extroverted and I'm introverted. And I feel like a lot of weebs are actually introverted in my experience. So it's
Mm.
like, how else are introverts supposed to meet each other?
You know what? Another point too that I've noticed is that even though people are introverted, I feel like the cons and the community has helped people kind of learn how to socialize better with people.
Mm.
Even though I know it's hilarious because like there's like certain set phrases and things that you would say at cons, be like, "Oh, how are you? A long time no see. Oh, I saw you did this." Well, like
Yeah,
there's like
yeah.
certain sets of questions and answers you go to,
Yeah.
and it's just like, "Oh, how are you feeling today?" It's just like, "Oh yeah, it's kind of busy." Like we say the same thing
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
essentially.
yeah, yeah.
But I realize it's like the ones who like and then when I hear them talk to other people, I'm like, "Oh, it's just like, you're rephrasing the same thing to just different people. You're
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
regurgitating
regurgitating.
it? And then
Regurgitating, we're garbaging.
regurgitating hey, you better stop making fun of me or I'm gonna drag your ass more often. Um, but yeah, like where I can see that, but I can see it's like almost practice for them to kind of like socialize. And even though they're saying the same thing, it's just like still really nice that they're more expressive than I think they're used to being. So I definitely think the cons, even though it's like a collection of almost a lot of introverted people, it also helps them kind of like learn how to like interact with others and, learn like certain social, I guess, things and whatever cues and whatnot.
I
I don't
think,
understand social cues at all.
I
Like
mean,
I'm just like, you're supposed to make eye contact when looking at people. I never make eye contact.
I think you understand social cues. You just don't have to think about them because you're good at picking up on them. Like it comes naturally, so you don't think about it.
Mm.
Whereas like I'm like the opposite where it's like I constantly think I'm like, am I making eye contact? Am I not? It's like
Oh, like it's a conscious thing?
it's because like for me, like I realize a lot of times like I'm not making eye contact, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to make eye contact, otherwise they're gonna think like I'm being rude or like I'm mad or like I hate them, right? It's kind of thing. But then I make
Is
eye
it
contact.
because you have RBF?
I don't know if it's that. I feel like I have a lot of social anxiety, so I think about a lot what other people are thinking. And then it's like if I look straight in their eyes, right, then I get nervous and I'm like, okay, this is awkward. Like it's too direct. Like what? How am I coming off? And then I just like I stress.
Oh, wow. The look into an introverted mind.
I don't know if
That
it's
must be
introvert or social
so
anxiety.
hard, no? Because like to be always thinking about those kind of stuff, like I can barely keep my thoughts straight. I can't imagine having to think more like that, being conscious of my actions and how it affects others. But I guess that's good. That makes you a more considerate person.
I think it like depends. It's like all the times I see how you act, I'm like, oh, I wish I could be like that. It just makes life so much easier. And because in the end, it's like I try to put myself in other people's shoes a lot, and I understand like when other people do this to me, I'm not thinking that much about how they're doing that. Like unless you're like really outwardly being mean, I don't feel like I've ever felt that way towards someone. So I'm like, I have to think in my mind. I'm like, okay, they don't think that way of me. It's just me overthinking it.
It's
And
so true. Once you've learned that people literally just live in their head and they're not like judging you or thinking about you at all because people are very self-centered,
yeah,
it just makes your life so much easier because then you're just like everyone's just thinking like how am I looking? How am I like appearing? Am I standing weird? Am I
yeah,
like
yeah,
looking weird? And then like they're not even focused about how you're making a really awkward stare. Like no one will know. So
yeah.
you just gotta fake it because I'm telling you, everyone. You know what's weird is like only in my recent, I think within this year, that I was like running around in Target and I was like doing some weird little hop thing, and then I saw people like ahead of me and they looked at me and they laughed, and then I was like, wow, from their perspective, I must be a really strange person, but I've never thought of it from a third person point of view. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I just kind of live in this little like world of mine and I never think about how people perceive me. And I'm like, wow, I can see why people can be self-conscious because if they're constantly thinking about how they're being perceived, that must be really hard to constantly like watch little things like that because I've never thought about that before. It could be because I'm neurodivergent or something. Like it doesn't make sense. I'm like, and my friend's like, you never thought about how people perceive you? I'm like, no, I just frankly, am I sociopathic? I just don't care. Like they can
No.
think however they want. It doesn't matter to me.
That's like the healthy thing. You know, almost I want to say that like social media has almost like exasperated the problem because I feel like I mean, I've always kind of been self-conscious, but I feel like that's just something in my personal experience. I've had things happen that made me feel that way. But in general, I feel like if those things hadn't happened, it was social media that really pushed it over the edge because it constantly makes you like look at yourself and look at other people, right? So you're like acutely
Oh.
attuned to like everything everyone is doing and everything you're doing and how people perceive you and how you perceive others. And you know, like all those dynamics are just always in your face, like constantly.
No, I don't understand that either though.
But you're like that's what I'm saying because like you don't really use social media as much. Like you use it.
I guess that's true.
Like I message you and I'm just like, what's the best way to contact you? I don't know. At the end, I'm just like texting you because you don't even like look at everything else. Can't trust it.
It's been months since I've gone online and I was just like, oh, it's good. I was like, oh my God, 18 more engagement and marriages and new babies popping left and right. Like, I'm like, wow, it's wild.
Dude, I
up
thought you were
here.
talking about like you were having 18 marriages. I'm like, the fuck are you doing? How many
You know, that is
husbandos?
possible.
When?
Actually, I've been good. I haven't added a new one in a long time. The last one I added was like, what? Gojo? That's it, I think. Let me think. Yeah, I think so.
She has so
Look
many
how
husbands.
good I am.
She has so
Aren't
many
you proud
husbands,
of
she
me?
can't even remember them anymore.
Bro, and when I was living in Japan, the merch life was so hard. The merch life was broke me. I was so broke all the time. I literally work just to pay for my husbando. And I was like, I can see why this collection culture can get very toxic and time consuming because I spent so much time finding the next collective, like, item or going to the showing or the special cafes just for the items. It's wild.
Dude, this gives a whole new meaning to being like the breadwinner of the family. Like you're breaking your back to support this family.
And it's just never enough. They just keep coming out with new ones. They just break my bank, and I'm
Girl is
willingly doing it.
going to school, working 2 jobs,
Literally, just to go buy an extra pin. Dude, some of the pins I bought were like $30.
going to
And I
their
was like,
special
"That's a deal."
performances, their special showings. Man, wife her up, man. Look at this.
It's called dedication, okay? And it's only for the ones who are worthy.
Dude, you make the mistake that people can be dedicated in this day and age. Dude, what is commitment?
I have commitment issues. That's why I'm committed to 2D men.
Dude, this generation has commitment issues. You're not alone.
So true. I think that's why a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah. Where it's like,
I mean, that's why people are having pets instead of kids, right? And plants.
what are you
instead of
talking about?
pets.
Those are kids. Those are
You're right.
legitimate
I'm
kids and
so
grandchildren.
wrong. I was so wrong.
Rude. Excuse you.
Bro.
They are
I'm like,
living things.
They are. Did I tell you I keep finding new cats? So I have 4 kittens. I just adopted
Dude.
another 2 kitten, but now I have 2 more. Hopefully another one will get adopted, but I'm like, at this point I should just open a cat cafe because it's just really hard to maintain at this point.
Why are the cats in your neighborhood so horny? Like for reals.
Well, the question is, why do they keep bringing me their kittens?
Cause you keep
All these
taking them.
Okay, well,
They
mean,
trust you.
they're going to good homes, okay? And they're like, that one, that's the druggie. That's the one who's gonna get you unlimited catnip and churro and treats. And
they know, man. They're like, dude, this is like free childcare out here.
Yeah.
You're working for them for free.
No, not the mom being like irresponsibly dropping off their babies.
Dude, she just trusts you. Dude, that reminds me of that one video where it's like the cat like goes and like drops off all his kittens in the person's bed and then like walks away. And they're like, "Oh, it's because she trusts you." And then everyone else is coming. I was like, "Yeah, she's trusting you with her kids so she can finally have a night off to herself."
Oh my god, it's so true. She's like, I don't want to see them ever again.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, like in true mom fashion. Like, I've been taking care of these little dipshits. Like, your turn. I'm about to go on a night.
I didn't agree to be a part of this parenthood, okay? I didn't agree to this.
But you are. Dude, it's like another video I saw. It's like this one cat, like, just straight up gave birth on the girl's legs, like on top of her.
Oh my god, that's so nasty.
That's true, but then everyone's also like, it's because she trusts you. Like, that's the safest place she felt. And then they're like, sorry, go on.
Like onto her hand or like just
no,
her lap?
Like she's just straight up sitting, like in L, like her legs are together and she's sitting, and it's on her lap. She's like sitting on the ground.
I don't know how I feel about that because that is nasty.
Yo, it's the beauty of birth. It's how you came into this world.
I'm nasty.
We all nasty. Let's be real. Babies straight out the womb look ugly as fuck, okay? And that shit ain't nice. None of us. None of us. I don't care what you say. We was all ugly.
You know what's so funny? That now I'm online and I see a bunch of people with their baby photos and like everyone's giving birth. They give like the exact date and time and location that the baby is born. And little do they know that's too much information to put out in the web. That's going to be there forever.
Dude, that's like a big issue I've noticed lately. It's like, I don't know. I feel like since it's such a new thing, people don't really know to navigate it or the danger so much of just like posting your kids online, especially people who have like straight up just like whole social medias dedicated to their kids. Yeah. And I get like a lot of them want to, I mean, not all of them, but like some just want to share with their family and they don't really understand privacy. But there's like some people who are like, they make their kids like influencers.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like, I remember watching one. It was like, I think she was like some TikTok. She had like TikToks and then she noticed that like all the videos of her kid in like a bikini or like a two-piece, I think it was. Were getting,
no, that's sick.
Yeah, we're getting like substantially more saves than every other video. And then like the realization to what that actually meant. And like, she like, you have to be careful when you post. And I'm like, even on top of that, like how disgusting that is, it's just the like not being able to speak for yourself because you're a kid. Like I could say confidently right now, like I would not want any of my photos out as a kid to like the World Wide Web in any shape or form. Actually, even to like family. Like if you show a physical photo, sure, but I don't want any way they can save it like that. Like I don't know you and it's me. I would not feel comfortable in this
And
day.
you don't have like the cognitive skills to even make those decisions yourself for like a long time.
Yeah, that's
and it's
literally
gonna
why
be there
you're a minor.
forever.
Yeah, you're literally a minor. It's like, well, you can't make these decisions for yourself. So your parents are supposed to. But like what happens when your parents are making the wrong decisions for yourself? Like it wasn't your consent and you didn't really understand at the time.
It's like exploitative.
It is. It kind of like reminds me when you like go to college and they like give you student loans, right? And they just tell you,
like just take all of this.
Yeah, just take all
of these options, just take it. Like don't even think about it. And then you're like, yeah, okay, I need to go to school anyway.
Yeah, literally. And then like it comes to like you graduate and realize like I have to pay all this back. And you don't even realize how much money it is because like you were just told just take it.
Yeah, and you don't even know. You're like, I have this amount I have to pay, and that's all I need to know.
Yeah, and then I hate the argument where people are like, oh, well, you were 18, like, you should have read it, you knew what you're getting into, like, you could read it, and it's like, yeah, you're freshly 18 out of, like, high school, where they don't teach you any financial responsibility. A lot of people never had money at all, like, they just don't know what's going on. Like, it's irresponsible in itself to expect the kid to, like, yeah, legally they can sign, but, like, you really expect that they know what they're doing? Like, did you teach them about taxes in high school? No!
Dude,
did you teach them about
classes
credit cards?
on taxes,
No!
banking, credit score, all
Loans?
of that stuff. It was just like, I think they just, as a society, they just benefit more if they keep their people uneducated.
Yeah.
And making these silly mistakes because they benefit from it.
Well, it's not even necessary. I mean, definitely for like private lenders, but like the most messed up thing I think is like with like federal student loans, which is great. I hope the forgiveness goes through. I know it's held up in court right now, but like, God, the big thing is that it's like a predatory circle. It's not just the loans. It's like you have the
Yeah.
federal government giving loans to kids, right? And they're really kids, because like you're 18, you're still a kid. I'm calling you a kid. You're a kid. You're not fully developed.
Honestly, I feel like most people aren't really grown until like they're like 25,
I think
maybe.
like
I think the
biologically you
legal
are.
age should be like 25.
I think biologically you're not fully developed till you're 25. And that's also when you get to rent a car. But
Yeah.
the predatory cycle is like kids need to go to college, right? There's this whole stigma that, I mean, it's getting better now. Like people are doing like more boot camps, learning from YouTube, just like going to vocational school and not going like the traditional, like you have to go to college because that's what our parents
Yeah.
told us. Otherwise, you're going to be like flipping burgers at McDonald's, which is not a bad job either. Like people still eat burgers. Like who's going to make it if not someone, you know? Someone has to do
I
it.
mean, if they paid the workers like a livable wage, I don't think there'd be any problem. But the goal is
Yeah.
just like to put you into this cycle of debt. So it's either you're going to go to college and you're going to be indebted, or you're going to sell your body and like, work for the military.
Yeah. And it, okay, also really dumb, the whole like, oh, you're going to be flipping patties at McDonald's because like, well, someone's eating McDonald's and then they expect like, oh, like, well, that's like a high schooler's job, right? But like, what do you do when the high schoolers are in school? Like, who's gonna make your burger then or your breakfast meal then? You know, like someone's got to do it. But sorry, going back to the cycle thing, it's like kids are like told, oh, you have to go to college, otherwise you will never have a job and you won't survive. Like you'll be a disgrace and dishonor and you won't make any money, right?
Yeah.
So then you get these student loans from the government to go to school, to go to these overpriced colleges, who it's like the money isn't even going to like things you're using mostly. It's going to like research for the school, which is like more grad programs and stuff. And that's like what makes schools prestigious, right? It's not your undergrad. It's like your grad and like your professors and like the research they come out with. That's where all your money's going for the most part, I would say. I mean, I don't have the stats on it, but from my understanding, that's what I've seen. And then the schools realize, oh yeah, well kids are gonna have to go to school, so they're gonna keep paying. So they raise the tuition because they know that the federal government or whatever, the student will just take out more loans, maybe even private loans to pay for it. And it's just a vicious cycle because then they give them more loans, and then the school once again raises it because they know that the kid has to go to school and they'll find the money somehow, and that the government will give them more money, or if not, they'll go get private loans. And then they take out more loans out, and it just gets higher and higher. And that's where we're at today, where it's just ridiculous, like how much you're paying for what you get.
I just can't believe it. And like how this whole thing was just a lie to us. And then like going to school and then you realize you're like, oh shoot, I'm already in the system. And then nowadays, honestly, it doesn't even matter your background
Yeah.
really. A lot of times I'm like, you can literally go to a 4-year, just get like a bachelor, and then afterward you're like good. You're like, you literally just need a lot of job experience and then the proper like skill set, and you're good. You can get any job. And nowadays you don't even need to go get a bachelor. You can just go to like you said, all of the boot camps and little programs. Like there's so much options out there.
It's like way more about experience and networking now than a degree. Like I'd say a degree, especially like the school you went to, even like I feel like a degree just tells you that you're competent, but like your school name even only really matters if for like more international stuff. I know in particular like Japan cares like about school name and prestige, and that it matters.
Yeah.
But in general, at least in America, it's all about like networking, who you know, and like what your actual experience, what you can do, what problems can you solve. So it's just really, but the good thing, okay, like for college, like if you are gonna do it, I do highly recommend doing right as of now, like the community college and transfer route, because you save so much money.
Oh my god, the money is just crazy. But it's just, again, it's like the whole image about like, oh, you got straight into this school,
Yeah.
whatever. But ultimately it doesn't matter. You're just busting your ass for no reason.
I mean, there's one good thing I think about college, if anything, and it's the networking, because that's where you meet people, especially before people are doing things, and that's where you can like network, before it's like hard to meet people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like camaraderie, a lot of people you can meet, because that's like, I feel like very formative years where you're like still a kid but learning to like be an adult. Like your first time you're kind of like on your own.
Yeah, that's why they went wild and free, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Those are honestly the crazy years where you really
Yeah.
can just like figure out who you are, and people say all the time like you use this time to like not stress about the future, just worry about like who you are and focus on working yourself because you really won't have that much opportunities later on to
Yeah.
like do all of those things. Because I feel like the moment of those years in college are like the free years before you're working a 9 to 5, and then after you're already kind of like having all of the necessary needs to like go on in life, be
I think it's like the big thing
an
too.
adult before an adult.
Yeah. Well, I think like the big thing too is not realizing that the situation is it's not just you, but like everyone there is in the same situation. And like once you graduate, that isn't the case anymore. Like everyone just goes on their own path, you know? It's so
Yeah.
different. So while you're all in that situation, you're all kind of looking for the same thing, like looking to meet people, looking to like, learn new things, join clubs, do things, have fun, go to classes. Like you can relate on the same things. Whereas once you're past that, it's harder to find people to relate on things because it's like you go to work and then maybe you have the same job, but then those people you can't really necessarily be friends with because now you're stuck in like work politics and it's kind of like you have to be professional and you
Oh
may not
yeah.
necessarily want to be like friends with them because that endangers your livelihood if they're not what it all turns out to be because there's a lot of backstabbing that happens in the workplace. Like people throw people under the bus all the time. I'm sorry to say, like it's all about getting ahead and it really really sucks. But like when you're in college there's a lot less of that. It's more, you know innocent
Mhm.
in a way, like pure intentions, I guess.
I find also college is when you meet all kinds of different types of people with perspectives and
Mm.
different lived experience than you do,
Mm.
which is really good for people to like really like expand their horizon and like, what they thought is possible because that's what I realized too. Work could also be like that, but for the most part, you're going to have like similar people who have similar like life experience to you depending on the area that you live at, or
Mm.
like the area you work at. But college is like literally, you can meet someone from like another country or another state and they have completely lived experience. And that's like
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, like it's just there's so much things you couldn't learn if it weren't for college. And that's like one thing where I would say transferring it into a college is nice, like monetarily, but it's kind of like better to go in directly for those experiences. Because it's also, I've noticed, I feel like from what I've heard, transfer students have a very different experience than people who came in like as a first year for all 4 years for college.
Ah, yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, where it's like you kind of are the outsiders and you kind of just go to transfer student events and that's how you meet people, but it's harder to meet because like
Yeah.
a lot of people you meet a lot of times it's like in the dorms and everyone got to know each other and created their groups and it's harder to like get in because it's not easy to meet people in like classes the way colleges are set up because a lot of people just like go to class and leave or they don't even go to class. And
I
then
think that's why people like value things like community and the con community
mm,
so much because it's like, again, it's another opportunity outside of college, work, or school that they could meet someone. And I
no,
feel like people
definitely.
go there and have like such a friendly like atmosphere because I remember what it was like in high school and college. It was hard even then to kind of make friends because you're like, well, I want to make friends with this person, but what do I say? Like
Yeah.
what do we possibly have in common? How do we start this conversation? Unless you had class with them or you obviously dorm or anything like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's like I said before, it's like why I started going to conventions because I was like, I wasn't really making friends who were into the same things as me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to cons. And I think a big thing for me was like, I was so used to having friends of the same kind that I like wanted to expand my horizons and like meet people from like different walks of life. Cause like even in college, in the end, you're all at the same college, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of chose a similar path in that sense
Uh-huh.
versus like, oh, I want to meet people who didn't just do that, like maybe people who didn't go to college or did different things in life and like that kind of thing.
Crazy, the different people that you meet. Like some
Yeah.
people are like, are scientists and other people are like, still college students. It's like the variety of people you meet is like completely different at con. And everyone has like mutual interest. So it's like, oh, I like your cosplay or oh, I like that little key pin you have on your bag. And you can just start a conversation there.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
fight. I fought with a lot of people too.
It's like, you're trash. Your fave is trash. Fuck y'all. No.
Not them gonna have my freaking I hate people on their pins. It's
But it's like,
funny.
it's like kind of wild how things have changed too, like at cons, where it used to be
Hmm.
like sense of community, right? And like a reason I really liked it was like the parties and like just the culture was like a lot more close knit. I feel like, I mean, even now, I mean, it's hard to say because like I haven't gone really super recently, but like when I was in it, I remember people from the outside would always be like, "Oh, these are such big conventions. Like, there's no one you would like see someone else if you really don't want to see them." But like my experience at conventions, like you saw everyone. Like it was big, but like you saw everyone and you kind of knew everyone somehow.
Yeah,
And
especially if you go to like the after parties, and there's always the same amount of people who go to certain ones.
yeah, and like you would meet people there. I mean, I met so many people, and they're like, "I don't remember you the next day because they were drunk," and I felt so bad.
Always like that though. Oh my God.
I felt so bad.
Honestly though, I mean, I think those years are fun, and I'm sure like a lot of people have made really good memories, but now they think back like I wish I remembered a lot of those moments and interaction, because everything's kind of blurry when I think back. It could just
Mhm.
be the extreme alcohol content in my body, but
I mean, it could also be just that we're getting older.
oh my gosh. But I do think I wish I had not relied on alcohol so heavily. And I feel like at that point, it was just like, you're young, you're just trying to test your
Mm.
limit and whatnot. But I feel like those years definitely did damage on me. And I'm like, not the same body as I used to be.
I mean, it's fair, but also on the same side, it wasn't just you. You know, like everyone was kind of doing it, so
Yeah.
it goes
I would
both
say
ways.
they go really hard, and I think definitely get
Yeah.
it out of your system early, because you really have like a super body during that time. But also just do be mindful and like, don't try to kill yourself every night.
Yeah. I've heard liquid IV
And
does
especially if
wonders.
you use it just so you can like feel your feelings, or whatever it is, escapism. Just
Yeah.
don't use it as escapism.
And recognize that alcoholism is a thing. Like,
Alcoholism is definitely a thing within the con scene.
yeah.
And now I realize it's like a huge drug scene too. From before, when I was younger, it was just like, we'll just like drink shots and stuff like that, or like jello
Yeah.
shots and stuff. But now it's like hardcore.
Yeah.
And I'm like shocked. I go in, they're like, "You want some?" And I was like, "Oh, this is what we're doing now?"
Dude,
No, I'm good, thank you.
I like just remember people being in bathrooms and I like not knowing what they were doing and then they wouldn't be clear and I was just so confused and I learned later. I was like, oh, I see.
Well, what were they doing?
They were doing some stuff that may or not have been legal.
At the time or now?
Now
What could it be?
it could be various things, but I'll leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I never knew what any of this was. I just say no, I only drank back
Yeah.
then.
Like I don't even know because like some people have been like, oh, I only drink. Then I hear they do other things after, and I'm just like, I don't know what anyone does anymore. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm just like, don't tell me one thing and then now I'm confused. Don't treat me like I'm weird for not knowing. But yeah, con parties have been like it's been wild because it went from like such small like us knowing everyone to like now I don't know a lot of people or there's so many more random people and I get like kind of scared because there's like some bad situations because it went from like small like there was like there was always like lobby con and that's kind of where you would meet new people a lot of the time but then you'd also have like I mean you did meet new people too but like room parties
Oh
and you
yeah, the room parties. Dude, we
yeah
used to have full ass potlucks in our room party. Like I had a friend
what
who bought, yeah, a rice cooker, and then we just had like a massive potluck in room. That was our room party.
damn
So
you
I think like
wildin'.
for me, that was like my image. And when people say like, yeah, crazy people had to be dragged out, or there were minors in the room, things like that, I'm like, yo, y'all need to like chill out. But I guess it's like, I don't know, it was just like more, it's not as welcoming, but because of that, I feel like we definitely had more of like a barrier and safety,
Yeah, I think
wholesome time, because we knew everyone rather than it just being like random people in the room the whole time.
yeah, I think there was like the more like chill like hangouts, and then there were people who like became party rooms, and they were like
Oh
Like
yeah, there's
even
specific party rooms you hit,
yeah.
like, okay, you're at this floor, all right, I'll meet you at that
You
floor.
know what? Everyone would be like texting and be like, "Oh, is it okay if I bring this many people?" Because then you couldn't have too many people in the room. Because then it always ended up being like a noise complaint, and it got cleared out
Oh
eventually.
god, always. It's like, okay, this party's cleared out, let's go to the next one. It's
Yeah,
always like that.
but then it's like, man, at least those parties still you like kind of knew people who knew people. It wasn't completely random. Because I had like people. I remember one time we were going to one of our friends' rooms, and like they came in the elevator with us, and then they chose a higher floor than us. And they
Uh-huh.
like started talking like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" Like, "Oh," they're like, "Yeah, we heard there's a party in this floor, the floor they were going to, right?" And they're like, "Oh, we're
Yeah.
just going to our friend's room, like to like chill." I forget if we were saying we were partying or not, but whatever. Like everyone was partying, right? And then we got out, and then they got out on the same floor as us, and they're like, we're walking to the room, and they were like following us. And then we got to the room, and like we're going in, and like the person is letting us in, and they know us. And then we had to like tell them like, don't let these guys behind us, and we don't know them. And they had to like literally tell them,
Oh.
we don't know you. You need to go. Like God, the
Ah,
audacity. And
like
they were
that. I thought you meant like you were both going to the same party, so you're like, "Oh, fancy
no,
seeing you here."
they like lied. I don't know. Maybe they were, but then they realized, oh, we want to go to your party. Like, and they thought it was like open invite, and it was just really really awkward. And I remember too, like the person at the door is like to try and get them not to go in. They're like, "Oh, who do you know in here?" And they're like, "Oh, we know what was the name? It was like a name that no one would have. That was it made me laugh so hard too. I can't remember.
Of anything and you would have made it in.
No, because I was like, they could have literally said like Kevin, and they probably
Yeah,
would
I was
like
thinking that
there
too.
had to be
Like
a Kevin in
Kevin.
there somewhere. But they came up with like the
Or
most
like a
like
Yuko or something.
yeah, but it was like I remember it was like a name that I didn't even know anyone who had that name like in my life.
What could it be? That's
I forget. It
hilarious.
was a while ago, but like that's the kind of shit that went on, and you could like deal with like people like that fairly easily, I'd say. But now it's like,
Wow, I wouldn't have not even noticed. For me, I would have just been like, "Hey, you're here too? You're at this party too?" It's good that you're very cautious of those things.
I mean, I'm like, it's also because like that you don't want like it's like the people where it's like, oh, even you a lot of times you had to ask like if your friends could come because just like capacity,
Hmm.
and like a
Yeah.
lot of people didn't want that many people in their room and that, so it's like why would you let random people in, like the fuck. And then random people can be really creepy and do creepy shit to people.
Crazy.
Yeah, but it's like things have changed so much now because it's going along with like cons becoming more of like a business. It's like not just the cons but like the con parties too.
Yeah.
Like I noticed like a lot of them started becoming like sponsored parties, and they became like at like
Oh.
Airbnb warehouses, like they hire like or have people like play DJ music, and like it's like at this point it's just like
Oh.
clubbing. It's like with anime people. It's not even like a party, I would say. It's just clubbing.
Yeah, it's just a giant club.
Yeah.
And what's fun, I think the transitions started to change when I think a lot of ravers started to come to cons because then like there's been a music infuse, like people who
Mm,
like anime also like rave music
mm.
or like EDM, and then they incorporated more anime into the EDM culture, and so it's like a mix in between. So I feel like a lot of people who were like into EDM started to become ravers, and the ravers who really like anime become like anime goers. So
That's
it's like that
true.
mashup community almost.
I almost feel like a lot of that happened with like Porter Robinson because he was like EDM but like super anime, like his whole thing. Oh my god, I
Mm,
remember when I first saw what was it, World, dude. I
yeah.
will never forget that shit. That's like it's like a movie. Like it's an experience. Like I don't even know how to say like. I remember so many people back then would be like, "Oh, I saw his set and it wasn't that great," and I'd be like, "But did you see World? Like it's not the same as a set. It's like a literal story with all the visuals and the songs and just
Yeah.
the feelings."
Yeah.
It's just like I'm sad he hasn't, or I don't know if he ever will again, but like it's like one of the most amazing shows I've been to, like honestly.
Oh, I'm glad you did. I never really got into EDM. Like I'll listen to the music and then, like people would just obviously always play it at like cons and parties and
Mm,
stuff. But like I never really personally got into it because my impression of like the rave scene has just been like drugs and
mm.
more drugs.
I mean there's a
Which I
lot
don't
of
think I'm
it.
not wrong though.
No, there's definitely a lot of it, but I think it's like for EDM too. as an outsider, like you'll say EDM, but EDM actually has a lot of like subgenres. Like there's some parts of
Mhm.
EDM that I'm not super into, but my friends are, and I think it hits different when you're on certain drugs.
Uh-huh, I heard that too. And they're like, "You should just try it." I'm like, "Yeah, if I go to cons or a rave, I would at least try it once in my life,
Yeah.
but only if I'm, like, with groups of people
Yeah,
I
like
know will take care of me."
I feel that like safety important.
Safety is important, and for me, I'm like, I'd rather just do it in a hotel room. But
Yeah.
then again, hotel rooms sometimes aren't that safe either, so I'm,
Yeah.
like, conflicted now.
Yeah. And then like raves too can be like the reception can be really bad around there and get when everyone's like not super lucid and stuff. It's just it can be stressful with that many people. But as far as the music goes, I mean, I think there's like a lot of like it's become very mainstream now. So there's a lot of pop music that's EDM or like remixes or a lot of that going on. So I think it's
Yeah.
more accessible to the normal person. And on top of that, like I think the reason Porter Robinson did really well, on top of like his anime influence, like a lot of it was like he used Vocaloids like in World, a lot of his tracks, and I
Mhm.
think that helped like a lot of people who are into Vocaloid music listen to that too. Like it's kind of like the gateway. You know when someone shows you like a piece of music that's like something you wouldn't normally listen to,
The
but there's a part of
gateway.
it you know.
It's funny. It's so true though. What would you say is your gateway anime to get to someone's anime? But I guess you would have to figure out their taste, right? Like what kind
Yeah.
of TV shows or movies they like?
Yeah, I think you need to know their taste. Otherwise, you just kind of give them the general most popular. Like now, it'd be like Kimetsu no Yaiba or like Naruto or like it's Jujutsu no Kaisen maybe or
Yeah.
like Shingeki no Kyojin, like things like that. A lot of the shonens.
I used to recommend Naruto, but now it's like kind of more difficult because it is really slow paced unless and if they jump straight to Shippuden it's not the same.
Yeah,
So then like now yeah, I recommend things like Jujutsu Kaisen. Would you recommend Black Clover?
no,
I heard it got better. Did you or you the one who was
yeah,
like I got to episode like 40 something and then I had to stop.
no. I forget how many. It was definitely over 100 episodes, but like okay, first few episodes or several episodes even. I almost dropped it. I know a lot of people almost dropped it because like the voice acting for
Mhm.
the main character is like the most
Oh, voice
annoying
acting is
thing.
so important though.
No, it's because like he just screamed like, and it wasn't even like it was like the most annoying, obnoxious scream, and he would always do it, and it was like to hype himself up, but it wasn't like, yeah, I'm hyping you. It was just annoying. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to mute
Is
him. So
would you did you watch the dub version? Is dub a little bit better?
I didn't watch dub. I watched sub, but I think it might have been similar. But I have to say though, even though it took a really long time, okay, it made me mad too because where the anime ended, because the anime isn't like the whole story, like it was about to start a new arc, was like right when it was like, wow, this is shit's finally going down, like this is getting interesting, and they ended the anime there after this over 100 episodes. I was like, why here? This is when it's finally getting good. Like, I'm frustrated.
That's funny. Cause then for me, yeah, I stopped after a while because I was like, yeah, it's kind of predictable, like more wholesome than I thought it was gonna be. So I like that. And I thought it was like obviously the Naruto versus Sasuke kind of rivalry in the
Mm.
beginning, but surprisingly they're both very wholesome
Yeah,
boys.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But voice acting you couldn't get past it. I was considering watching all the way until the episode where Sakurai showed up, and I'm pretty sure I don't remember what character he even played. Something something diamond. But either way, I was only gonna watch it up to that because I just want to hear him talk.
Oh, was it the diamond dude? Hmm. Well, I gotta say, I think it'll be worth watching if they continue the anime where it stopped at some point because the plot actually was like getting good. Because otherwise, it was kind of just general, shonen power of
Plot?
friendship, overpower
Mm,
my enemies. Like it wasn't that
true.
interesting.
Yeah,
Like
I would recommend Jujutsu Kaisen, Violet Evergarden, Fruits Basket, AOT if they like action. Those are probably the gateway. But then I don't know if that would make them like every other anime would suck compared to those, and they would only kind of stop at those good ones. You know
no,
what I
I
mean?
think they're like because honestly, none of those are on my top. I think Fruits Basket is like my top manga. I don't know about the anime. Like I don't even
I
know if I'd
see.
recommend Fruits Basket to people. Like I think I would have to see what their taste is before I'd recommend
Yeah.
it. But
No, but I feel like Attack on Titan, in terms of like storytelling and like the dramaticness of like
mm,
what I think most people watch for shows and movies,
mm.
I feel like that would get people. But at the same time, it would be, I don't know if they would find another anime that will like hit the same of the level of dramatic that Attack on Titan is.
I think Attack on Titans, I won't even say that it's dramatic as much as it is shock factor. Because I think it's like similar to why a lot of people
But
like
that's
Game of
what they
Thrones.
like. Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like a lot of people who like Game of Thrones or even Squid Game, they would
Yeah.
definitely like
Yeah. I
shows like
think,
Attack on Titan.
yeah. Yeah, I do. But that, I don't think that alone can carry a show, you know? So that's why, like, none of those
Um,
animes that we listed, I think all the ones is, I don't think any of those are on my top list, like my top five at least.
I guess that's true. It's not, I would say my top, but what I would recommend to the
Yeah.
general public.
That's why I say, like, for the general, like, I don't know anything about you. Because it's easy to recommend, like, action. It's like recommending a superhero movie, you know? Like, people know the general gist. There isn't too
Oh
much
my god,
deeper
but have
thinking
you
necessarily
seen
needed.
Kami-sama Kiss? I would recommend that too.
Oh, the Hajime Mashite one, like, with the
Yeah.
fox? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I read the
I
manga for
feel like
that first.
I love the manga for that one. Well, that and Kaicho Made Sama. Those two were like my top back
Oh
then
my
in
god,
that
Kaichou
era.
Maid Sama. I still love Kaichou Maid Sama.
Kaicho was so good back then. I freaking loved it. What about, would you recommend people like Kuroshichi, or do you think that's very like niche?
I think that's more niche. Like, I know there are people who are
Really?
like fans of it, but I
But
kind
it's
of
so
feel like it's almost
aesthetically beautiful.
it's beautiful, but I almost feel like it's low key. I want to say cult, but not like cult, but like niche. I guess it's very like niche.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like there's certain people who like anime who just really, really like it. You know, like I watched it, and I was like, it's all right.
I know, Haikyuu for sure, hands down.
Okay, yeah,
That would be,
yeah,
that would get people into it because like
yeah.
honestly, like even as like longtime anime watchers, it's like I'm not gonna find an anime that like hits the same level as Haikyuu did. You know, like, and then they have everything. It's hard to hate the series. It's just hard.
I think like Haikyuu, there's nothing better because they have so many characters and they really flesh out all the characters and they make them like
Yeah. The
really
pacing
show.
is good
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like some parts, some season I think is better than others, but for the most part, the music, the pacing, the character, the play, it's like easy to follow. Because you know how some series, like especially sports series, it's hard to follow the play.
No, no. Okay, so that's one big thing why I really liked about Haikyuu versus other sports series is like Haikyuu doesn't do any like special attacks or special skills. You know, it's literally just volleyball. Like, no, because literally every other sports anime, you know, people get some kind of like first thing that comes to mind me. The first thing that comes to mind for me is like Prince of Tennis. You know, they all have like a special, like it's supposed to be fucking tennis, and they're out here with like fucking hurricanes or like what was it tornadoes or shit. Like I can't even. Like, please, please. Where like Haikyuu is like, it's straight up like this is just volleyball. Like they're just hitting a ball and they hit it higher or they hit it in the right spot, but they managed to like make it interesting.
Oh, it's so true. But it's just funny the way you say it because it's so true. I can't think of anything else.
Like, come on, Prince of Tennis, the fucking snake shot. Like, I remember looking that up, or I'm like, is this physically possible? Like, can this actually happen?
At some point, the unrealisticness like like takes it away from like the show. You know,
Yeah,
you're just
yeah.
like, wait a minute. Like sometimes I watch things and when the logic doesn't make sense, it just bothers me through the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what me, because I sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to look up if this is actually possible. Like, I need to know for science.
I need to know.
Tell me why.
Okay, I think those are probably the only ones I would recommend. I don't know. I would recommend anything else per se.
I mean, I have a lot of things I'd recommend, but like once again, I'd say I think I need to know your taste before I'd recommend anything. Like I noticed, I kind of hate when people ask me like, "Oh, recommend me anime," because I hate recommending it and then being like, "Oh, nah, nah, nah." Like I don't want to hear nah. I want to hear like, "Yeah, I watched that," or "I checked it out," and I can only do that if I know what you'll actually watch.
Excuse me. I recommend you to read Akatsuki no Yona for
I
like
did
literally
read.
years now. Oh, you did?
I don't know if I finished because when I read it, it was ongoing.
Oh, okay. Where did you stop at?
I don't know. It's been a really long time.
I know.
But I
Honestly,
definitely read it
sometimes
before I
reread
watched
the whole
it.
thing.
Yeah. If I read it again, I would read from the beginning.
Yeah. 'Cause sometimes you just forget everything.
Dude, that happens to me so much. Like, I don't even bookmark my manga anymore. So I literally just like start reading series until I realize I'm like, wait, have I read this? Oh yeah, I read this. I
Oh
just
my
end up
god, yeah, I
rereading
do the same
series.
thing. Yeah, yeah, reread the entire series, you're like, "Wait a minute, something about this seemed familiar, like,
No,
I've read this
that's
before."
I don't know if it's the worst or the best where you reread an entire series and it is until the end you realize, wait, I read this before. Have you
Yeah.
done that? Because I've done that.
Too often. Too often, and then
I'm
I
like,
just feel like, "Why do I not remember, like, was I completely dissociated reading this? Because how come I don't remember anything?"
or it's like you feel like you miss complete arcs in it and you're like, wait, what, did this ever
Yeah.
happen? Maybe because that's like why you thought you didn't read it and you're just like, God,
Dude, it's
asteroids.
just like some shows just hit more when you're older and you're like, can see through things. You're like, wait a minute, that was really clever. That was
Dude.
we talked about this cartoon and
Yeah.
adult jokes.
Yeah. It's so good.
They're truly for adults when we get older.
I mean, it's nice though, because like for someone who doesn't really like to rewatch things,
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I'm glad I get more out of it this time. I don't feel like I wasted my time.
Oh my god, for me, I'm just like the freaking mind of a goldfish, memory of a goldfish. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, it's like getting to re-experience things over and over again is amazing.
It has to be a good one then. There's some where it's like really shitty and I've reread it and I'm just like, God, why did I do this? I was that desperate for content, okay? That desperate. Have you ever
Dude,
been on
I'm
like, sorry, go on.
desperate, always desperate for good content.
Have you ever just been at the point where you just like look through everything? You're like, I've read it all. I need something new. And it's like, you can't fill the void with anything else because there's nothing else. And you're just sitting there
Yeah.
and you're like,
Yes, of course. I understand that feeling.
that's why I'm at the point and I start thinking, I'm like, maybe I should watch a drama. Is it
Oh my god,
time?
do you have that where you switch between dramas versus like anime
Yeah, we talked about
constantly?
this before.
Oh, have we? I
Yeah.
forgot.
Remember, we were like
Memory of
this.
the Goldfish, remember?
Yeah, we were. We were like, we do that, watch dramas, and then we like go. We had our whole like everyone goes through the same like types of dramas where we watch like Nobuto Produce and stuff.
Oh, yes, that's so true. Okay, okay. Yeah, we definitely did have this conversation. I remember now. It just took me a second.
She's not a goldfish. She's something else. She has a memory. It's there. Just gotta access it.
We'll end it here today, but thanks again for watching with us. We'll see you again next week. I'm Kane,
I'm ISO.
and we'll see you again. Bye! Goodbye! Thanks for
Bye.
listening. Thank you so much.